as a social media gal in business,
Hmm.
of course, I'm, watching on social media, and I absolutely loved when you posted on social and said, "Hey, it wasn't a part of my plan is to, take some time off of social media while I'm on this trip." And it made my whole heart so warm to read that from you, because this is something I talk to my business owners all the time, is to disconnect, to have this digital pause. And so and especially when you are on a retreat or in somewhere that you identify as being ancient or ceremonial, too quiet. That is so important. And I usually start all kinds of conversations with women if they're wanting to figure out like how to move their social media forward, is you don't have to do anything. It's what do we want to do? And so taking that pause and taking that time off, I just absolutely love it. So now that you're coming back, is there anything that you're having reflection on? Oh, I paused, and then you have all these photos. I love
Yeah.
this piece of it, because I talk to people about this all the time, is that like, just because you pause doesn't mean that it's not pertinent any longer or it's
Yeah.
not relevant. You can post for weeks later
Yeah.
about what's resonating. So look, tell us a little bit about like what's resonating now that you're back online. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I want to go back to the pause first because, like you said, I made a post about how I wasn't anticipating making a pause, and this probably won't be a surprise to most of the people who are listening to this because I talk a lot about consistency. And for 8 years, I have been highly consistent. I mean, I can count on maybe two hands the number of times that I have like not posted or that I was out of my own strategy. And I actually went into this retreat thinking, oh, I'm going to post every day. And part of that's because historically, when I've traveled, people have said to me, I'm living vicariously through you. I'm never going to be able to make a trip like this. And so I feel like this interesting obligation to help people experience this. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because I was wearing two hats on this trip, and we can talk about those later, but I was wearing these two hats, and it was almost like I didn't even have the capacity to do it. And I just found myself like day after day after day not posting it. And I initially felt this weird sense of anxiety, like, oh my God, the algorithm, the this, the that, like people, there were all these questions. And then I was just like, you know what? I think it's going to be okay. And somewhere in there, it was like middle of the trip. I think I made a single post on LinkedIn. And then there was a post at the end, the one that you're referring to, of like, I didn't expect to not post while I was there, but it was actually really nice. And, one of the things that we did on this trip was do a hot air balloon ride at sunrise over Luxor. And you can see the temples and the Nile and all these things. And it was all about perspective. It reminded me so much about slowing down, about perspective taking. And, it's very easy to be in the mix of all of this and lose sight of what you're doing. And I think this pause, whether it was intentional or not, gave me the chance to realize, like, and maybe reaffirm, hey, I don't have to do it any certain way. Me taking this little pause does not mean I'm not being consistent, right? It doesn't mean anything. It means I chose to be present for the thing that I was doing so that I could experience it fully, so I could take in what I needed to take in and walk away with whatever was meant for me to walk away with. So I think it's super important because, like you, I'm just kind of gotten to the place where I really don't think we need to be doing all the things in business that we've maybe been told we need to do, especially when they're out of alignment or don't feel good. It's like I hear so many women say, I really hate social media and I don't want to do it, or I don't want to make reels, or I don't. And other people are like, you've got to do those things. And I'm just like, no, I don't think we do. I think we get to decide how we want to show up, in what capacity, in what medium, on what platform, and make that our own. And so I really appreciate that you're kind of leading the charge with that, like really getting people to think more strategically and more in alignment with what feels right for them and their business at any given time.
Yeah, I'm always saying, okay, like, let's just lower the anxiety about this, because you really
Yeah.
don't have to do anything. We're going to choose to, if you feel led in that way. And then we are going to choose the platforms where your ideal customers are going to be. So it's all going to be based on strategy, but there is no obligation here. And if we start from that level, the content isn't going to be great either.